Right, let's have a look at how you write reports. First of all, the structure and the layout of reports. As you know, a report is a very formal document and it's usually written for an informed reader who usually already knows something about the subject. There are basically two kinds of reports that you will be required to write. The first one simply provides information on a topic and gives a brief conclusion or a summary. For example, you have to write a report about the Austrian political system or the Austrian educational system to help somebody who is doing some research on political systems or educational systems. The second type of report usually deals with talking about the advantages and disadvantages of something and making recommendations. For example, you might have to write a report about the leisure facilities in a town for the mayor because the town wants to make improvements and you have to suggest some improvements for leisure facilities. It's very important, as with any other assignment, that you read the assignment carefully so that you know what kind of information you must include in a report. Let's have a look at this example here. This is a Zentralmatura example. Um, Here it says Get Reading, an international organization that is interested in making students read more literature, has invited young people to write reports on the reading habits of Austrian teenagers. The writers of the best reports will win a trip to London. You've decided to send in a report based on interviews with your schoolmates. Then you get a graph that gives you some background information. So it's very important to note that up here in the beginning, there's always the situation like who are you writing the report for, and it's very important that you keep in mind who you are throughout writing the report. And then it usually tells you in the form of bullet points what the report has to include. As you can see here, in your report you should analyze the chart, discuss the reasons for the various reading preferences, suggest how teachers and parents can stimulate an interest in literature. So there are 3 points you have to cover. And it's very important that you stick to these 3 points. Now, reports have a basic layout that I've tried to summarize here. Can you please always stick to this layout? So just always write to, from, and date. So obviously you write who will receive the report, from who, so that's you, the date, and the subject, which is the title of the report. A report is always divided into sections. There is always an introduction, which is usually a short text summing up the background of the report, the purpose, and the source of information. So, why are you writing it, and where did you get the information from? The main body is usually not one part only, but can be subdivided again. You should use headings wherever possible, so divide the main body into various parts. You should give each section a subheading. You can use numbered points and lists. This is typical of reports. Possible headings could be, for example, current findings, facts and figures, possible causes and reasons, consequences, solutions and recommendations, advantages and disadvantages, just to give a few examples. Then there is always a conclusion, which is either just a summary of the most important points, or there might be a personal recommendation. But please be careful. This personal recommendation is only appropriate if it's required in the assignment. If in the assignment it says that you should make recommendations. Otherwise, please leave your opinion out. Okay, let's have a look at an example because that's usually best. Here, and I'll just make this a bit bigger for you. Here you can find part of a report about leisure facilities in any town, so in a town, it could be any town. And as you can see quite clearly, The report has a clear factual heading which tells us exactly what this will be about, namely leisure facilities. Then it has an introduction. It says here, the aim of this report is to describe and assess the leisure facilities available in any town. It is based on information made available by the Anytown Tourist Office and on views expressed by local people who were interviewed. So the introduction says what the aim of the report is and how the writer got the information. And that's very important. Please make sure you do that in your reports. And then there are subheadings. You have sport, theaters, museums, and art galleries. These could also be subheaded by findings, and then you had sport, theaters, etc. But it's clearly structured. If you take a look at this report, you know it is a report because of the structure. You can read through the report at your own pace and maybe also write down some phrases that are used, some structures that you could use in your own reports. Let me just close this. Yes, you'll also find more on this page, you'll also find more report assignments from the Zentralmatura. I've also included a list of useful words and phrases. First of all, reports are impersonal. That means that you're not supposed to give your own opinion. So personal opinions or feelings are not included. If you have to make recommendations, of course you can express your opinion in the end, but usually this is not asked for. You should also try to avoid structures such as I think that or I found that. You can use impersonal constructions instead, such as it seems that, it was found that, but you will find more phrases here on this page. I also think you should know that you shouldn't use contractions in your report. So you shouldn't write don't, didn't, for example, because it's very formal writing. Good. Below then you find words and phrases for the introduction, for the findings, and for the conclusion, as well as other useful words and phrases. I've also added some linking words at the end. They are not only useful, of course, for report writing, but any kind of formal writing. You should be familiar with them, but please take another look at them and really try to implement them, to include them in your report. Okay, please take a closer look at this ebook before writing your own report and make sure you understand about report writing, the structure, the layout, and try to use some of the phrases that are given here.